Okay, good. When government gets something done 2 years ahead of schedule, it must have involved divine intervention. So that proves that you are divine. But Bette Midler, you have made us proud in many ways. This extraordinary achievement was largely due to your vision, your drive, you being the rallying agent of it. But you make us proud because, there are some people just epitomize New York. There's some people that New Yorkers are particularly proud of who combine our spirit, our sassiness, what other words could I use? Our spunk, our chutzpah, our brass, thank you, Bet. We got a million of them. Brash, all those things. But, yes, willful. Bet is all those things and extraordinarily talented and beloved. But she doesn't just take the accolades. She does something with her fame, and she does something for people all over the city. So, Bet, Deborah, come forward. We are so proud of you and so appreciative.
Thank you very much. Hello, grown-ups. Hello, children. I'd like to address my initial remarks to the kids. I'm not from here. I'm not from New York City. I'm from a place called Hawaii, which is a very beautiful set of islands in the middle of the Pacific. It's probably as far away from the United States, the continental United States, as you can possibly get. It's completely isolated. And when I was growing up there, it wasn't a state. It didn't belong to the United States. It belonged to the United States. It was a territory. It wasn't a state. And when I was growing up there, I lived it was so beautiful, and the trees, there were trees in the streets and trees in parks and trees and flowers, and everyone looked after their lawn and everyone looked after their garden, and it didn't matter if you were rich or poor. The environment meant so much to everybody who lived there. So I grew up there, and I didn't leave until I was 19 years old, and I thought the whole world looked like Hawaii. And when I came to New York City, I said, what happened? What's going on here? And I lived in New York from 1965 till about 1977, and I went to LA, which has a lot of trees, and people, spruce around, they like to garden and all that. But when I came back to New York City in 1994, I had been in the earthquake, and I said, that's enough for me. So I came back to New York City, and when I got here, I saw a lot of trash. I saw trash in the streets, I saw trash in the parks, and one time I even saw a mattress in a tree. One time I saw a couch in the tree, and I said, well, that doesn't make any sense. What's that? Why is the couch in the tree? So I started driving around the city, and I noticed in some parks there was there were things that I didn't expect to see in parks. I saw cars that had been stripped, car thieves who had taken these cars apart and set them on fire in the parks. And I said, well, there's kids in this neighborhood, and they want to come to the park, and they don't want to see a burnt out old car carcass in my park. So we started cleaning up parks, and we went from park to park, and we went from street to street, and we started a grassroots movement, and it was a lot of fun because people joined us, and because they all felt they wanted to do it, but they didn't have anybody to do it with. So they joined us. And we had been around, our organization, New York Restoration Project, had been around for about maybe 10 years. And we were having this event trying to raise money, and the mayor was there. Mayor Bloomberg at the time was there, and we were having our event in an empty pool. Literally, a pool that had been in a park that they had emptied, and we put up some tables and chairs, and we were having our dinner, and we were having a party in this empty pool because that's the only place we could afford. So I was looking around at everybody, and everybody had like a look on their face like it didn't matter that it was an empty pool. They were so happy to be there with people who felt the same way as they did. And I looked at them and I said, I always had this dream that we would plant 1 million trees in New York City. And Mayor Bloomberg was there, and he might have had one glass of champagne too many, I don't know, but he jumped up and he ran over to me and he said, that's exactly right. That's what you're going to do. We're going to do it together. And And I had it, when you have an organization, you have an executive director, and this is our executive director, Deborah Martin. But at the time, we had a gentleman, and it was his first day on the job. And this poor guy turned green, literally, at the idea that the next day he had to start planting 1 million trees. So it's a program that's been going on. We couldn't have done it without the New York City Parks Department, without so many agencies. Besides the Parks Department, NYC, State DOT, the Department of Education. We've had partners. We got corporations. And foundations to come along with us. American Express helped us, BNP Paribas helped us, Con Edison helped us, the Home Depot, CIT, Tiffany and Company helped us, TD Bank was so generous to us, Toyota, the Wells Fargo Foundation, and I also want to say a big shout out to the USDA Forest Services and the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. We owe them an undying debt of gratitude. And while I'm here, I want to say a special and heartfelt thank you to the Mayor's Fund to Advance New York City under Mayor Bloomberg, and to David Rockefeller, who indeed made a gigantic, both of whom made a gigantic contribution to kick this project into high gear at a time when we were all scratching our heads, and that poor guy, that poor executive director going, oh, because you know what? Trees are not cheap. Trees are not cheap. They will grow on their own, but if you want to plant them, you have to buy them, and you have to pay some people to plant them unless they're volunteers. You have to make sure the soil is good. You have to bring water to them. Everything costs money. So that initial contribution was absolutely key to the beginning of this project. I want to thank all the volunteers who worked for nothing but the satisfaction of contributing to their city and their planet, and the thousands of homeowners who took donated trees from the Home Depot company with them to plant in their own yards. And of course, the thousands and thousands of people, the anonymous generous people of this wonderful city, who we never saw and never met, who sent in their donations just because they wanted to see their city green. But honestly, to tell you the truth, because I've been with New York Restoration Project for 20 years, the nearest and dearest to my heart are the staff and crew of my organization, New York Restoration Project, who went through hell and high water for over 8 years and 2 hurricanes to get this done. Please applaud them. They are so fantastic. They are the hardest working people in the world. No matter what obstacles were put in their way, they never complained. They overcame, like you guys have to do. I know there were many, many times when it looked like we weren't going to make our goal, but they were so resolute and so dedicated. And now I feel like I want to tell them, you can lay down your shovels and rest. Now that we have to plant another 1 million trees. Who said that? Oh my God, I gotta I'm leaving town. I want to thank them all for their mighty contribution. So 1 million trees are taking root in New York City soil, but best of all, you know what the best part is? That the idea that everybody deserves a clean, green place to sit and to take their ease, to eat their lunch, to commune with their God or whoever, to have a chat with their friends, to sit and work with their laptops, whatever. That's a fantastic idea, and it's a relatively new idea. It's only a few years old that everyone suddenly said, yeah, I deserve my park too, and my park deserves to be beautiful. So that's, I think, the greatest thing that we accomplished after all. That idea that's floating around that everyone has taken to their hearts. And now I'd like to introduce to you a woman who will never turn green when I say plant another 1 million. Ladies and gentlemen, the hero, Deborah Martin from New York Restoration Project.
Thank you, Bette. I want to say I've been in this position before, and Bette Midler is a tough act to follow, but I'm going to try.